maybe potentially the most fun topic to some people. They would argue maybe it's the least fun topic to talk about, and it's the wonderful world of politics. What do you think? Fun or not fun?
It is. I didn't care about it, but I think it's fun because I enjoy, like some of my close friends, I enjoy getting an emotional reaction out of them. So I will say off the wall shit that I don't even believe at all just to get an emotional reaction out of them and then like really get them pissed off and then just start laughing. And then I've learned as I've gotten older, I can get an easy emotional reaction out of them with political stuff. And so it's fun for me because people are so emotionally invested. As you know, one of my businesses is all about that. It's particularly on the GOP side. It's about getting emotion out of people. So it is fun to me because it's a easy button to push when it comes to getting emotion.
I'm glad that you mentioned that part of the work that you do, and really the main aspect of it is getting an emotional reaction out of someone. And it seems like marketing, I mean politics, out of almost anything has been most heavily influenced by marketing and most heavily influenced by influence in general. How do we get people on our side using marketing or using persuasive techniques, whether they're truthful or not? But how do we get people to come to our side? And at least from what I can tell, a lot of people feel like that's a weaponization of influence, and it hurts the fabric of society in some ways. But I think it'd be interesting to analyze what's actually happening behind the scenes. Why do things get so heated when politics gets brought up, and why seemingly on things that we mostly agree on, like people mostly agree on stuff, but they can get so passionate for their own side based on minor things, and how these political campaigns can highlight little differences and make them seem like the most important thing. What marketing techniques are they using? So let's jump into that.
Yeah, real quick before we do, this is kind of a side note. I was the last 3 years I've gotten into. I used to just read self development books. Now on the weekends I will listen to a fiction book, typically some kind of medieval type fiction, maybe sci-fi, medieval fiction, whatever. There was this book I read, or it's a series called The First Law. I think by Joe Abercrombie. It was well written, well narrated, probably one of my favorites. But in this series, it's you have like, this is going to get nerdy, but just bear with me. You have this wizard who seems friendly or whatever, and you have these factions that are fighting each other, right? And then at the end of the day, and it's all political stuff, kind of like Game of Thrones, right? People vying for power. And all you have all these people vying for power and getting caught up in these political type things. And at the end of the day, the person pulling the strings is the wizard who seems friendly, and nobody knows. And no matter what happens down here with these people fighting and getting emotional and blah, 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 the wizard wins. This side wins or this side loses, the wizard wins. This side wins and this side loses, whatever, the wizard wins. It made me think about that in the political atmosphere. We have all these little things we're fighting over. I'm like, man, not to get down the conspiracy road, but like, who's really running this? Like, who is really is Biden really the most powerful man in the world? I'm not political at all, but if he is the most powerful person in the world, I might be a little concerned. I, like, who really is running this shit? Anyways, back to you, sir.
Yeah, I think that applies kind of across the board too. It leads to this false choice. I
Yes.
actually was listening to a child psychologist on the radio, and one of the things that she talked, her name's Dr. Laura. I love listening to her. She talks about parents who have trouble getting their kids to listen to them because they tell them to do something, but the kid doesn't want to do it. Okay, so for example, put on your shoes, right? And the kid says, "No, I don't want to put on my shoes," because the choice is either put on your shoes or don't put on your shoes. That's the choice. And what she says is that you don't say, "Please put on your shoes." You say, "Please." or you ask a question with a choice. Do you want to put on your sandals or your sneakers? And now the choice of not putting on shoes doesn't even exist. But it still feels like a choice is being made by the person doing it, in this case the toddler. And maybe in our case too, that marketing or psychological technique is really what it is being used too. Like, you hear your political choices, where in reality we're probably going to want the other one. Like, we don't want any of this in reality, but these are the choices that we have. So I bet this applies across so many different industries, including, like you mentioned, fast food. Do you want Burger King or McDonald's? Like that? Well, that's not right. That's not the choice. It's not, or Taco Bell, or Wendy's. Those aren't the choice. What about a home cooked meal? Some people may not even have that on their brain at all, because it's just been eliminated by these psychological and marketing tricks.
The illusion of choice is real, bro, and it gets used, to your point, in all types of ways, and it can be used in all types of situations. From your server, instead of saying, "Do you want dessert?" versus, "Do you want the cheesecake or the chocolate cake?" Or a weight loss product that you're pushing. Do you want this weight loss product or not? No, it's, do you want to lose 10 pounds or 30? The illusion of choice is real.
Yeah. So, okay, in politics right now, we may have an illusion of choice, and out of our choices, it's very meta, because there's illusion of choice that goes so many levels deep. And for example, this latest one that we found was that regarding abortion, which is a very hot topic, and always has been. Some states recently have been banning them. Uh, Other states have been allowing full term abortion. So it is actually kind of it's a very hot button issue. And I think political campaigns know that, obviously, and know that a lot of people will be one issue voters. I believe that's what they're called. They'll just vote no matter what, based on just one
Yeah.
issue. So a lot of people will, no matter what, if they can disagree with 99% of a political party's values, but this one thing they do agree with, they'll just go with them. So right now, so this is happening across the country. We're about to get into the summer of election season. Abortion's big. There was a Supreme Court ruling. Former President Trump is now condemning certain things. Biden's on the other hand, and let's try to dive into what is happening from a marketing perspective. What are these people and what are these campaigns doing? And is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I think, and I might be off on the particular um, topic that was discussed in the article, but when it comes to, I mean, this is, to me, this politics stuff is all it's all marketing. And again, I will say it. I have no political affiliation. I don't care, but I will say that I think Trump is brilliant, even when people think he's an idiot. I think that his the role that he's playing, or that character persona he plays as this idiot, is brilliant. Um, we've talked about this before. I will say it again. Let's take Trump for example. And I'm going to give this example one more time. Trump is from, his dad was rich. He inherited money and he made more of it. So props to him. Most people lose it. He took it. He made even more. And he's lost it and he's made it back. And he's from New York, has an uppity lifestyle. He's a Yankee, so on and so forth. If you look at that avatar, now think of that avatar, and now think of Trump's base. Does his base mimic him? Absolutely not. His base is going to be, at least from what I see here in the South, it's going to be Southern, more good old boy, hunting, fishing, country music. It's that whole, we talked about this before, where there used to be that Pace Picante commercial where they're eating salsa and they find out it's from New York City and they're like, New York City? And it was like this anti-Yankee type thing, right? And you would think that would apply to Trump, but no, it's quite the opposite. Think about what this man has done. He has made this person, this avatar, and his base, who normally would not like him, eat out of the palm of his hands. And how did he do it? He did it just by what you're talking about right here. It is marketing. And it's those one button topics: build the wall, immigrants, illegals, government, bad government, blah, blah, blah. They're against us. He's giving them, feeding them what they want. Matter of fact, my friend sent me an article. Again, I told you I push my friends' buttons by just saying outrageous stuff to the point where they call me Black Trump. And he sent me this Twitter and he goes, "This is why you remind me of a Black Trump." And he sends it to me and it's Trump doing a Fox interview. And Trump says that the crime rate in Argentina or Venezuela, I forget which one, is Argentina or Venezuela. It recently went down, like significantly. And Trump says it's because they let all the bad guys out of their jails and sent them to the U.S. And that's why the crime rate. And then the dude's like, "Well, where's the data to support that?" And Trump's like, "Well." Like he has no answer. Like he gets stumped because he knows it's bullshit. But people are eating that up, man. Like somebody's gonna be like, "Yeah, that's right. They're letting the illegals in here and they're doing this, that, and the other." He knows what to do, even if it makes him look stupid. He's still saying something because somebody else, like he knows that somebody else is really picking up on that. His base is really eating that shit up.
I think it was the philosopher Plato, and I'm going to Google this during our next segment, but I think he was saying he was ranking all the different types of ways to govern in order, and at the very top was governed by benevolent dictator would be the most ideal way, because you actually have one person to make decisions who truly has the best interest of the constituents at heart when making a decision. There's minimal bureaucracy. And that would be the ideal way of government, according to this philosopher. Now, that's very hard to accomplish. It's very hard to find someone who is a benevolent dictator, or maybe they start that way and then get corrupted over time. So that's more of a dream than a reality. And it just kind of ranks things in order. And I think it was second to last. It might have been last. But it's democracy. And the reason that he ranked it so low was because of the way the inherent dangers of democracy, because if you have people voting, there's this temptation by the people running, the candidates and the people in charge, to not present the facts or the reality of the situation and just say, "Here's the reality, here's where I stand on it, here's what I would do if X, here's what I would do if Y." And it would just be an easy decision. Like, "Oh, I agree." So a voter might look at a list of like this and they would say, "Yes, I mostly agree with this one candidate, so I'll vote for him because here's the facts of actual reality. Here's here's my candidate's opinion on those things, so I support them." Nowadays, and what this philosopher is saying, so this has always been this way, is that you actually effectively have to trick everyone into voting for you for one reason or another. Whether or not you're going to actually fulfill what you said is almost irrelevant. It's just about how do you make them feel during the election process. So in the case of criminals leaving South America coming to the U.S., a lot of people feel very strongly about that, and they feel like, okay, this person's going to protect us. Whether or not he will is at that point no longer relevant. Whether or not it's even a real problem is no longer relevant. I mean, we see this all the time in just marketing, whatever it is that we're marketing. It's you almost have to create a problem for the consumer that they didn't know about. And that here you have a problem. I mean, you see this with pharmaceutical ads all the time. If you have any of these symptoms, you have a problem. Like, they didn't even know that they were sick, but they just heard that they had a symptom, so now I'm going to sign up for this prescription. And yeah, I mean, it looks like it's happening. It looks like it's always been the case in politics.